Okay, Chair Likin, we're ready.
Good evening. It is 6:02, and I'd like to call the September 21st, 2022 meeting of DRC to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Martinez, roll call, please.
Yes. Chair Licon,
Present.
Vice Chair McKay,
Present.
Committee Member Batnish,
Present.
Committee Member Chang,
Present.
Committee Member Rick Chao,
Present.
Alternate Committee Member Tony Chao,
Present.
and Alternate Committee Member Torgerson.
Present.
Okay, so we have everyone here, and I would like to welcome Rick Chao. Thank you very much. And our new alternate, Suzette Torgerson. Thank you. The agenda is posted 72 hours prior to the meeting at the following locations: San Marino City Hall, San Marino Public Library, San Marino Recreation Department, San Marino City website. Each committee member has received plans and has reviewed every item on the agenda and visited each site. The general order for hearing each case will be as follows. The committee will ask staff any questions they may have. The chair will then ask the applicant or the applicant's representative to comment on the proposal. The hearing will then be open to the public, and the chair will ask for comments for, against, or about the project. In all cases, please come forward and give your name and your address. At the conclusion of the public comments, the applicant will have a chance to respond, and no further comments from the public will be accepted. The chair will then ask for comments from each of the committee members. If there is no motion for approval or denial, the DRC has the option of continuing the application to a future meeting. In the event of a denial, it is hoped that the applicant will have heard comments during the public comment period and during deliberations that will be useful in resubmitting an application. It is important for the property owner to understand that once a project is approved by the DRC, the drawings will become lawful documents. If any changes are made to the project subsequent to approval without obtaining proper approval of those changes, then the property owner is in fact breaking the law. There is a risk of having to change the project back to the originally approved design or paying a fine to the city equal to the greater of 5% of the project valuation or $2,500, and then resubmitting the changes made to the project to the DRC. It is important to understand that there is a 15-day appeal period after action has been taken for the applicant or an interested party to request the planning commission to review and act on each case. Okay, let's begin with item number 1. Design review case 22-35-2945 Somerset Place. Ms. Martinez? Or
Yes, our assistant planner, Savag, will be presenting item number 1.
please, okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant proposes to remove natural wood shakes and install certainteed, bless you, and install certainteed presidential shake TL composition shingle roofing material in the shadow gray color on an existing approximately 2,037 square foot, 1-story single-family residence with a detached garage. The proposed material is found on the city's pre-approved roof materials, colors, and application list. However, the proposed color is not pre-approved. Additionally, the project does not meet the prerequisite of having composition shingle roofing material currently installed on the home and is therefore subject to design review. Pursuant to section 23.15.08 of the city code, The design review committee shall approve the application if it finds all of the following to be true. Finding one, that the proposed structure is compatible with the neighborhood. For this finding, the composition shingles can be found within the legal neighborhood. At the following properties, 2940, 2955, and 2965 Somerset Place, and also 2960 Sheffield Road. Thus staff finds the request to install certainty presidential shake TL composition shingles to be compatible with the legal neighborhood, and as such, the project meets this finding. Additionally, the other two findings include that the proposed structure is designed and will be developed in a manner which balances the reasonable expectation of privacy. The project proposes no changes in which this finding applies. In case of a building addition as well, this project proposes no changes in which this finding applies. And finally, the final finding that the colors and materials are consistent. Again, the applicant had proposed the shadow gray color, and staff is recommending either the aged bark or autumn blend colors to match the existing brown. Finally, staff is recommending the approval of the project with the certainty presidential shake TL composition shingle roofing in either the aged bark or autumn blend color, with the added condition that the conditions for composition shingle roofing be applied. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sosunian. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Anyone on Zoom? Great. Can I have the applicant step forward and present your case, please?
Yes, my name is Mike Chen at property 2945 Somerset. And we want to change the shake wood because it's falling apart. We noticed our neighbor's house was composition shingles. And ever since we lived there for 22 years, I never even see them repair it. And it looks fine to me. Ours, when the windstorm came, it blew all the little shakes everywhere. And to replace it is also a lot more in expense. I think we got quoted somewhere around 60,000 for it versus the composition shingles, which would cost about 35,000.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
You have a question?
Committee member Chao.
Thank you. Mr. Chen, right?
Mhm.
So my question is that have you considered under the product line certainty presidential shake TL other colors, for example, aged bark and autumn blend?
Yes, we'd be
And,
willing to. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay.
We'd be willing to accept whatever is easier for everybody.
Okay, I just wanted to know if you'd be agreeable if
Yes.
yeah, the committee
Mhm.
recommend that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
I believe Vice Chair McKay had a question through Zoom.
Thank you, but committee member Chao asked the same question I was going to ask, so thank you.
Okay, anyone else? No, okay. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? Anyone on Zoom? Is there anyone on Zoom who would like to speak?
There isn't anyone who has indicated they would like to speak.
Okay, then I will close the public comment and move to committee member discussion. I'll start with committee member Chang.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can support the application based on staff report. I think the home style work with the selection, and based on staff's recommendation, I think the property owner can work with that two color, either one, I would have no problem with it. So I can support the project. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Committee Member Committee Member Batnij.
So I have found aged bark to look sort of orangey and strangely artificial and not so much like wood shake personally. I could support either shadow gray or autumn blend, both of which I think more correctly are closer to the natural aged wood shake. Thank you.
Okay, Committee Member Chao.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I can also support the project with the selections. I do agree with Committee Member Batnij. I think the autumn blend and the shadow gray would probably be the good two choices. So with that, I can support the project moving forward.
Okay. Have everyone? A committee, alternate member, Tony Chao.
Nothing more to add. I can support with staff's recommendation.
Okay, and alternate member Torgerson.
Yes. I'm in support of the project, but I tend to favor gray over brown. That's just my personal preference. So I'm not sure why gray was discounted by the staff, but I think it's appropriate for a roof. So gray or brown for me.
Great. Thank you very much. And Vice Chair McKay.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with staff and their report that there is composition shingle, actually quite a bit of it in the legal neighborhood. So I find that this is compatible. So I can agree with approval tonight. I appreciate staff's recommendations of colors and the applicant's willingness to be flexible on the colors, but I do concur with Committee Member Batnij and Committee Member Rick Chao that I don't think aged bark is appropriate. So the original shadow gray that was proposed, or perhaps autumn blend, I'm interested if they're, I think either one of those would be fine. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I agree with Committee Member Batnij as well. And I could support the material in the neighborhood compatible with the legal neighborhood. And I also would like to see either the shadow gray or autumn blend. Due to that, do we like to make a motion?
Are you asking for a
Well, I
motion?
think overall we have agreed with the same color choices for the majority, and that we have agreed that it's compatible with the legal neighborhood. So that being said, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Committee Member Batnij.
Oh,
Go ahead.
thank you, Chair. I will move to approve design review case number DR 22-35 2945 Somerset Place, and that the applicant be allowed to choose between either the applicant's stated preference, which is shadow gray, or autumn blend. And I'd like to add that the conditions for installing composition shingle be met.
Be met,
Is that the right terminology?
Be applied to the
Be applied here.
project.
And also I would like, because I've seen, well, I'd just like to emphasize that the application and reiterate that the application that is being approved for tonight is for presidential TL and not because they have something that's not TL, and it's very important that it be the TL. I think I'm going to say that every single meeting from now on because I have concerns about that. Thank you.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Vice Chair McKay. Roll call, please.
Chair Lacon,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnij,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
Committee Member Chao, Rick Chao,
Yes.
alternate committee member Tony, that's it, actually, sorry. So that's a 5-0 vote.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to number 2. Design review case DR 22-36, 840 Winthrop Road. May we have the staff report, please?
Yes, I will be presenting the staff report. So item number 2, design review case 22-36 for 840 Winthrop Road. The applicant is proposing to redesign the front elevation of the residence, including a new concrete landing with brick borders and a redesign of the existing bay window into a new front door with casement side lights, and the removal of the existing French door into a double hung window, and the replacement of a double hung window with a casement window for bedroom number 3 solely for egress purposes. This property is identified on the city's historic resource survey as a potential district contributor to a potential historic district. And as such, the applicant has done a historic resource report that is a part of the attachments. And the architectural historian has identified that the proposed project is consistent with the architectural style. In the neighborhood input letters, the applicant received 8 for that do not object and 3 for no responses. Staff has made all the 4 design review findings. And that staff is recommending approval for the project as presented. I'm available to answer any questions, and the applicant is also available to answer any questions should you wish.
Does anyone have any questions for staff?
Yes, I do.
Committee member Chao, go ahead.
Thank you. I have a few questions for staff. The first one, just a quick clarification in terms of neighborhood letters. So I look at the map, is 880 Winthrop not in the legal neighborhood? That's like 2 or 3 doors down, 880. I just want to be sure. And,
Yes, I'm pulling up the attachment right now. 1 second.
okay.
My computer's just not cooperating. Okay, so 880 is just outside the legal neighborhood only because in our definition of the legal neighborhood, it's 2 homes to basically the left and right of the home. And so that's the 3rd home to the right if you look at it from the street view. So therefore, it's not part of the legal neighborhood.
Okay, thank you for your clarification. And my next question is that on the printouts, DRC1, which is the first page, it's noted project information. Below, there says number of stories, it says 2 stories. Is this a 1-story or 2-story home?
It is a 1-story, that's a typo, but they do have a basement,
But that should be corrected to 1-story.
correct?
So please, I'm asking staff to please make a note for that correction.
Definitely.
And the third question is, the applicant is proposing a gate, pedestrian and vehicular gate. There's no information indicating that's part of the project. And also I want to clarify that there's currently not a gate. Well, there is no gate right now because it's under heavy construction, but there's no information regarding the previous home before the demolition. So I guess first is, was there a gate? And if not, the new gate either way should be on the under the project scope, right?
Yes, there is no new gate being proposed as part of this project. There's an existing fence in the, along the front property line that's not being changed or altered as part of this construction. So to answer your question, there's no new fence or
There's
gates.
no gate being proposed?
No.
Yeah, I must have read it wrong. Somewhere says. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? No. Okay. May I have the applicant come up and present your project? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Zainab Daba, and I am the trustee and the mother of the owner of the property, Gary Basil, who's actually here, committee members, as well as staff members. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate the fact that it's so late in the evening and yet you're here. So thank you for doing this. We purchased the property about a couple of years ago, and at the time it was in the middle of COVID. We were instructed by the city that they could not accept our application until February, and that was done online. We then went ahead and applied online, and a year and a half later, here we are. So I really appreciate the time. The property is unique in the sense that we were not able to get a lot of information about what happened in the course of its existence since 1933. But what we realized when we bought it is that the entrance to the property, the front door, was actually in the back. And it was not accessible directly except by going into several steps to get there. So it was obvious that something must have changed, because when we drove by the neighborhood, we realized that every street and every house in that area had a front door that was actually in the front. So at the time we were informed that the city has placed a possibility of this being a historic place, and we actually hired ASM affiliates, which included an architectural historian that did a lot of work. The architectural historian disagreed with us in one of the requests we had, which was to change the height of the front of the third bedroom roof. They also disagreed with some of the design elements that we chose for the style of the door, and requested that the door be exactly how we presented it to you in order to comply with the architectural historian type. In response to the gate, there was no gate to the house. The house had a kind of an interesting way to get to the back. And at that time, there was a metal gate that we had then removed since then. So we don't intend to have a gate that will be actually apparent from the outside, if that's the concern. And that's why none was presented to you. We have loved San Marino, and we have lived in Pasadena for 30 years. And ever since I came here, our dream was to own a house. So I'm glad that my son has the opportunity to be your neighbor. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to ask.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Chair, I do have one. if
Okay,
I may.
committee member Chang, go ahead.
Thank you very much. It looks fine. I just want to make sure that the contractor doing the work with all these window changes and all these door changes, how is that brickwork going to be able to go back pretty much as it was before?
We actually hired a very reputable contractor by the name of RT Abbott. I also have our architect present here with us. The intent was to replace exactly every single one of these as they appear. We are in the process of acquiring and matching exact replicas of the brick that was there. It's intended to be aged to match exactly the same way. And they have done this several times before, so we don't intend to have this appearing less than perfect. It would not have two different color, brick or look in any way different than how it would have looked otherwise.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that that architecture detail of how we're going to end the last piece of the brick and how that work on the detailing on the jamb and the head, and I guess I don't think we see it on the plan, and I just want to make sure if the architect can share with us his method and the effort of trying to get the matching brick. Were they able to find it so far? Do you know?
Well, yes, and the person we hired is actually his name is Steve Leatherbarrow, and he has been a mason for more than 40 years. He hailed from England, and he has done several projects similar to this. I wish that you would be able to see our home to appreciate the fact that for us, it's a project of love. We have no intention of changing the house. It is our property, and our intention is to make sure that it's perfect in every way. To answer your question, the house was not, the windows and doors that were placed were not appropriately weatherproofed. And as such, as part of weatherproofing, we actually had to remove the brick surrounding the existing windows and doors just for weatherproofing purposes. Otherwise, we would have constructed a house or completed the remodel of a house that none of us would want in our neighborhoods. So we are making every effort we can to make sure that the house is in perfect condition by the time it's completed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Committee member Batnij?
Yes, I'd just like to follow up on committee member Cheng's request that if it's possible for your architect to not just describe the I appreciate the details about the brick, but also it's a little bit difficult to understand what the entryway will look like. I may not have understood correctly, but I'd just like a little bit to fill in gaps a little bit about what the plan is for the entryway.
And can our architect who is present address the committee? He's
Yes.
so Alan Kalisher is, as you know, our architect, and he is an AIA member.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Alan Kalisher, Los Angeles, California. The front facade of the house has a projection that's a large bay window, and that when my clients purchased the house, that was a dining room. And as Zainab mentioned, the front door was in the rear of the house. So you entered the rear of the house into a vestibule right off of the master bedroom. It was a bit unusual. We looked in the records that the city has for the property, and there was no indication that there was an approved change of the front door. So on the front facade, we have that pop out, that's a window. And then there was adjacent to that, to the left, is a pair of French doors. The width is 36 inches. So they were two 18-inch leaves, and they opened up into a kitchen. So that was somewhat back of house. So our original design that Zainab mentioned, which changed the roof form, also removed that projection in the front, that bay projection, and replaced it with a larger window onto the side and a proper front door with an overhang. Again, as Zainab mentioned, the architectural historian wouldn't support that and said it was inconsistent with her findings. So in discussing what our options were, we determined to leave the pop out, and it's the same existing pop out, but we're taking the window unit out and replacing it with a mold one unit with a door in the center and two side lights to come close architecturally and aesthetically to looking like the original house. So the door is solid, it's a wood door. So that's the difference. It's a wood operable door in the center, but with clear glass side lights on either side, which will have some window treatments to screen them. And their function is for package delivery and for irrigation controls and things like that. So from the street view, it will look as a proper house with a front door and centered with flanking side lights. Did I answer your question? Sorry.
Yes. Yes, you did. Thank you.
Chair, if I may have another question for the architect.
Go ahead, Committee Member Chang.
Yeah, Mr. Council, I try to understand your two skylight doors. And it appears to me that they are kind of closing onto the two solid side of the main front door, isn't it? And if it's a clear door, what do you see when the door is closed? And how often do you open that door at all? It's just really for decoration purpose. I just try to understand how that two skylight work and what the treatment is.
Sure, they're both outswinging doors. They're molded in the same frame as the front door. So the frame of the three doors that are across the front now will look like the frame of the existing window. So it doesn't look like three separate doors. It looks like one assembly that has three separate pieces. The glass doors that were flanking the front door are clear glass, but they will have a window treatment like a curtain on the inside so that it looks like it's the interior of a home. But once you open the doors, they're outswinging doors. They are just small closets on the exterior for package delivery, for irrigation controls, for lighting controls, things like that that might normally be put in a small receptacle in the ground or tacked to the side of the house. We've located those elements inside those closets.
I see.
Let me add that was not our preferred architectural design. Our preferred architectural design would have been to remove the bay window completely and make one door, one front solid wood door, but that was not supported by the architectural historian. It was the architectural historian requirement or request that we have what resembled the window frame with the side lights. If the committee wishes to change that into a front door only, we would not mind, because that has been our intention. She just absolutely refused to support it in her report.
Okay, so back to the side door treatment. The color of that side door, it looks like it's like a French door with divided lights. And is the material and the color the same as the front door? So it looks like one door assembly.
If I may, committee member, when you came, what you saw is the primer. We have not painted. I believe you went on a site visit a couple of days ago. What you saw is the primer, and that's why it's still white. The intention is for the color to match. The existing color of the house was a very bright blue, which we think is an electric blue that was not proper to the period. So our colors will match the 1933 bronze kind of color for the exterior. And that will match for the windows as well as the door.
Just a quick question. It says stained wood front door, but you're saying that you're going to paint it?
Yeah, yes,
Yes.
it's to be painted. Sorry, that is a mistake. It's painted the same color as all of the other fenestration on the house and the other sliding doors in the back. It's a color to match the like a dark bronze color, a dark brown color.
Can I ask a question? Is there a reason you choose not to stain the front door?
It would be impossible to match it and make it look as one unit as was requested, because the side lights are exactly the same. It's made as one unit, the frame. It's a one huge piece that is almost made like a window that you will pop in. So it's impossible to make the middle section only stained. And it will also be the only stained portion in the entire house.
Committee Member Chao, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll just tell you that I find this proposal, although very detailed, obviously you guys putting a lot of effort and thoughts into it. I find it's lacking of visual references. That's kind of a main thing. I'll leave that more to the comment area, but I'll just ask you some questions here for clarification. On this ERC1 page says relocate front door to front facade from rear. Can you explain that? What exactly we're talking about?
That was the original house when it was purchased had the primary door to the house in the rear yard.
So you're relocating that to repurpose for the front?
That's correct.
Okay.
Where
That's what I thought,
yeah.
just to, again, clarify that. And back to my previous question regarding the gate. You have said that there is no gate, but when we read the ERC5 page, B11, it says it described in detail pedestrian and vehicular gate. And it went on to describe, gates to be steel frame clad in wood. So this is going to be something solid and opaque, right?
No, there is no gate.
Go ahead.
That was our landscape package that has been value engineered. We have subsequent to starting this process, received an approval for an accessory dwelling unit. The garage has been converted, so there is no vehicular gate past that.
So that should be revised and should not be.
Yes,
Part of the
we should take that off of our drawing.
Okay, so that is the ERC5 here. And I understand that ADU is approved by the city, or I'm actually going to ask you if you can just touch that very briefly because it's not directly related to our discussion here, but has that been approved? And because the reason I'm asking that is I was a little bit surprised when I visit the job site that how much has been done already. So to that end, it's also difficult to find out like exactly. I'll give you example on your project on your plans. It says, okay, these windows will be existing, these will be new. But when you visit the job site, it's kind of hard to tell because everything is open for the weatherproofing purpose or not. So could you just talk a little bit about why so much has been done and what kind of permits and that has been approved?
If I might take that, I started the conversation by telling you our history. Our history consisted of a year and a half of trying to get approvals where we got approvals and then they were rescinded and then the process was not completed. The process was inaccurately described to us. We have a year and a half of emails as well as backtracking from various individuals. I don't blame anyone because COVID made things not as right as it should be. As a result, our project was divided into 3 permits. The first permit included everything that you see that was done to the house. The second permit was the ADU, and the third permit now is the front facade. And since only the front facade was being requested to come to the committee, that's why you don't see the complete project.
Did your plan, the first one, at any point, did you go in front of the planning commission or anything?
We did not need to go through in front of the planning commission, but we did have building. We had 2 building approvals. We had a planning approval. We had 3 planning meetings, and 2 years afterwards, we're here.
I can also give some history as to the permitting. So yes, they've been in the process of construction for a while. To clarify what was said, the interior modeling, it also included all new windows throughout the house. That was approved. And then after those plans were issued and construction started, the applicant then submitted a revision to the front elevation. And that's when staff indicated that that type of change needed DRC approval. Since then, they did receive approval for the ADU separately. And that's why they are here before you today. They did, it is difficult to tell because of the existing construction site. Currently, there is openings for what potentially they would like to propose, but they do know that it is at risk of the DRC approval.
Thank you. Then just a quick follow-up question. When I mentioned briefly about a little hard to visualize, I would just wonder that have you considered when you were presenting in preparation, presenting the plans, that putting some like rendering visual references, because we don't have any window schedule, well, windows matching, but like, for example, you proposing this fountain, we don't have, there's no more fountain?
Okay, so just to backtrack, one of the things that COVID did for us is when we started the project, the construction cost was $1. As a result of COVID, the construction cost is $3. And as such, when we had originally planned on doing the frontscape and the landscape, we had intended to have a fountain. The cost of the fountain was $15,000. So we are considering at this point whether we should have a fountain or not.
Okay, but it is presented in the plan.
So maybe I apologize because I didn't realize that we are going to be going into details regarding the landscape and hardscape, and that's why we're
Well,
not sure.
sure, everything plays a part, especially that your project is, you know, quite extensive on a tiny street. So it is very important that we have a very good understanding. So again, I'll leave that. I'm not going to go into my comment. That's why I was asking about certain things. The rendering, because there's no door schedule. I have no idea what the front door is going to look like, the pavement and all that. So
I apologize.
There are elevations of in the set of what the existing house looks like, the existing facade and the proposed facade. Is there additional information you would like to see?
So even on any time our applicants propose something, it's always very common and almost all the time, if they're gonna put in a new door, they will show us photos. If they're gonna propose a fountain, propose lights. We need to have a color board. We need to have those supporting information.
And I understand that that might be something that you'd like to see, except it's something that was not requested of us. I appreciate the fact that you have to put yourself in our place. It's been 2 years, and in every step of the way along the 2 years, we have had conflicting information and conflicting requests. It is not that we don't intend to comply. I assure you, sir, not only as an attorney, but also as a doctor, that I intend to comply with all the law, but I would like to have that directed to me as to what I need to bring. And if something that you need, I'll be glad to bring it. But when that is not done, and we have approval after approval gets rescinded, and we're here 2 years later, you put us in an untenable situation.
Thank you for your answers.
Does anyone else have any questions for the applicant? Go ahead.
Sure.
Balance the windows now. I think it makes sense. The brick pop out, is that a step? I'm just a little confused about what you mean by the brick pop out.
It's a projection from the front, front plane of the house. It's picture like a bay window. It projects beyond. The whole thing pops out, and it has an existing shed roof on it with the material. So all of that is existing and remains. We're taking the window unit out and replacing it with this 3-door assembly.
and I see from this elevation, these, when I think of side light, I think of this side light, but I didn't realize they were actual closets.
Mhm.
So the interior seems like it has been there already.
Yes.
It shows up in the earlier plans.
Yes.
So now you're just putting outward going doors on the front.
Yes, we, as part of our original approvals, for the current construction that's underway, we have been approved for all of our interior rework up to the front facade. The front facade was excluded. So we built all of those closets new up to the anticipated new design.
So they were not existing.
They were not existing. As I mentioned prior, when the house was purchased, that was a dining room,
But the pop-up existed.
but the pop out existed. Correct, yeah.
Committee member Batnish, go ahead.
So is I think the word pop out is something that means something different for us, but I think what you mean is a projection that is in place of, or a projection that has a similar footprint as the bay window used to have.
That's correct.
Okay. So that's why I asked you earlier about, can you give us an idea of more of the look and feel of this front door? Because because we don't have a detailed rendering of it, it's hard to understand what it'll look like, what the dimensions are. Is it exactly in the same footprint as the previous bay window, or close to it, or what? If you can give some detail on that.
Yes, the projection off of the front facade is the existing projection. There was one bay window, window unit that had 3 sections in that projection.
Right.
We've taken that out and replaced it with another unit that is contains 3 sections. They just happen to be doors that go to
Okay,
the
I
floor.
understand. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? A committee member, alternate member Tony Chao, go ahead.
Sorry, I know we've been at this for a bit. I'm just want to make sure I have clarity on the front hardscape landscape. So what are we actually approving or looking at? I know that there's some parts that have been removed from what's in front of us. Can we clarify that?
We are
again?
not We're not submitting the landscape hardscape today, and big part of that has to do with the California regulations regarding water. It is impossible for us to decide that we're going to put, which we have initially, that we're going to put grass in when grass is no longer something that we could actually water. So if we put the grass in today, it will die even before it gets placed. So we are not requesting a approval for the landscape hardscape. We have to wait and see what the state is going to decide in terms of what's allowable to be planted and what's not allowable to be planted in lieu of the drought. Our intention is to make sure that it is period appropriate and that it complies with the mandates.
The existing house had some hardscape in the front, which was concrete and brick. And the landing outside of the proposed front door is the same material. Perhaps we didn't do a good job in presenting this, showing more of our landscape package than we had originally intended to. The hardscape, we need a path from the sidewalk to the front door and from the parking area, from the drive to the front door. And that's what's shown on the last 2 sheets of our submittal. The other landscape elements are like the fountain and the gate. That was our mistake. We should have taken those off because the landscaping needs to be thought through given the current issue with irrigation. and planting materials.
Okay, yeah, so I was just asking to clarify on the walkway, so appreciate that. Okay, I know the landscape's not there yet. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, one last thing, there's a split rail fence that exists on the front of the property. I think it shows on the photograph on the front page that has brick piers, and that's remaining. So the material, that's the same material that's on the facade of the house, which was part of the existing hardscape that is there, and the new hardscape will match all of that. That's the intent.
Chair, if I may.
Go ahead.
In regards to the landscaping and the front yard and hardscape, as called out on the plans, the proposed hardscape is 17%, which is under the 25% threshold that requires a design review action. So in reviewing this project, the hardscape plan can be subject to change should the applicant wish in the future, as it's not exceeding the threshold.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Can I ask you, are you going to have to remodel the split rail fence to make the opening where the new walkway is going to extend to the sidewalk?
We would take the railing out between the two piers there. So the piers do not change. It's the removal of one of the rails that define the yard. It's basically removing a 4x4 that spans between the two.
And what is the material of the front porch and walkway?
It's brick on concrete slab.
All right. And if you can't put lawn because of drought reasons, what kind of material are you thinking?
I'm thinking of drought resistant plants.
So a lot of decomposed granite and some mulch and some various landscape visual points of interest to break up the front yard. We have a landscape architect, Allison Terry, so we would be relying on her to come up with something that would be appropriate.
And one more thing, what about the turf that you call out on the left side of the house? There's like a dog turf? Or
Yes.
dog- Yeah, can you talk about that a little bit?
It's just artificial turf, and it's not shown on the outside. It's to the side of the house, to the rear entry, I guess, into the laundry room. And we plan on putting artificial turf there for our 10-pound dog.
Has your 10-pound dog lived here before?
No, because we have not been able to live in the house since we bought it 2.5 years
Well,
ago.
I just say that because I have a 14-pound dog and you need to be really careful not to leave your dog outside
No, we
because of
don't.
coyotes.
It gets
The
very
dog
hot.
won't be real. So is it a special kind of turf that is for dogs?
Yes, that's what the landscape architect had suggested for him.
Does anyone else have any questions?
I just want you to know that we spared no expense. We hired every single consultant. We hired electric engineers. We hired, landscape architects. We've hired architects. We've done everything we can to make sure that this project is perfect. And I wish I would invite you to my house to see where we were planning for this place to be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here for public comments? Do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to speak about the project?
I do not see anyone on Zoom.
All right. And I will close the public comment portion and move to committee member discussion. I will start with committee member Betnij.
Okay. I'm in the hot seat. I can see where this is very tricky project for you. It's obvious that you've done a lot to try to make this right in terms of the what the historical report, the was it the EIR? Was it the EIR? What's it called?
The historic resource report.
Historical resources, yeah, the historical assessment. So, excuse me. It's kind of a strange solution somehow, but I think it does preserve the look and feel of what will be the front entrance. I definitely understand the desire to have a front entrance. It's odd to have a rear entrance, although when you have a car that's going into a garage, it's a little less odd to have an entrance, but to the desire to have a formal front entrance is I find it reasonable. So I just would like more detail that's not just verbal. I wish that I mean, as I understand it, the front entrance with I wouldn't call them sidelights, I call them doors that flank the front door in the same pattern as is the existing bay window. If it is truly replacing it, going in exactly the same place as the former bay window, and that it will, you gave a lot of verbal detail that's not quite in the plans, and I wish also that I understood the colors and materials a little bit better, even though verbally it was explained. So that's kind of the only issue I have. I think that the French door on the side being changed to a window is fine. So now I understand, no gate, no fountain. We don't really exactly have the color board, and we don't have the color board and materials. But the main thing that is happening here, that is the main change of the front door, I guess I can get on board in concept with it, and I understand that this is a very tricky project and that you're trying to find a reasonable solution. But because it is tricky, I also want to listen to my fellow committee members and see what they have to say, because I can see there being different viewpoints on this, as I have different viewpoints in looking at it and trying to put myself in your situation, trying to think of how this should be approached in a way that preserves the historical nature of the structure. So I appreciate that this has been a tough process and that the solutions are maybe a little bit difficult.
Committee member Rick Chao.
Thank you, Chair. So this is also a project I think is a little bit tricky. That's how I feel. I think there's some confusion here that not only just based on some of the questions I asked and later clarified. If you look at the plans on the first page, you basically have a photo of the old house, and typically I'd much rather see, also be very helpful to see again a color rendering that depicts as closely as possible what you have in mind for the new project. Because this doesn't really, I think, serve the purpose. So again, for me, that would be very helpful to be able to evaluate the project more appropriately, is to understand exactly the material. Even with your proposed current thinking with hardscape tied in with the final proposed plans, and all that, I think it's very typical and normal what we expect. I think we will rarely, probably shouldn't approve any projects, with so many unanswered questions in terms of visual reference. So that's kind of my main comment. And with that, I can support. I think you guys putting a lot of effort and thoughts into this. I think that goes without saying. But because of what I had mentioned, I can support a continuance tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Chang, please.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, it's not that big of a project, but you look at the list of consultants that the owner had hired to work on the project. Obviously, it's a very difficult project. It's even more difficult because we've gone through the pandemic time, and the outcome is almost there. I think the architect and the owner had spent a lot of effort and time trying to revitalize that final outcome of how they wish the building to look. I personally don't have any issue with, except the fact that I want to make sure that all the details that we touched tonight are being addressed either as additional conditions. I'm happy to hear that they are working with some very experienced masons trying to get that detail worked out on the removal of the existing brickwork and try to put it back so that it looks like original. I think that honestly is my biggest concern. The front door, I can live with it, but it will give a kind of a false elevation because that two side door with curtain behind it truly isn't a looking into the room. But I guess that's the best solution they can find. I can live with that. And as to the rest of them, I think the landscape architect will work with them. The front yard hardscape is within percentage. I do want to see the project move forward quickly and get it completed after they work on it for a couple of years. Project only get worse if you drag it on and on and on. It does not get any better. So I can support the project to bring it to a closer. So that would be my feeling on the project. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Community alternate member Tony Chao.
Really sorry to hear about the process in all of this. I think, again, like everyone else has mentioned, it seems like a modest, semi-modest project. I think my dilemma here is, as it's been broken up into three scopes, three separate projects, what we're looking at improving, the specific scope we're looking at improving, we have a lot of vague pieces that we're approving on. If we do push this forward, I think the work's been done. I think it's 99% there. And to the best interest of DRC and the applicant, I think it's best if we come back with a detailed plan. And so there is no arguments about anything vague or any red flags that may come up in the future. So that's my 2 cents.
Great. Thank you. Alternate member Turgeson.
Yes, I think it's a charming home. I think it has a great deal of architectural integrity that you tried to honor by hiring an architectural historian. I think it's difficult to understand in 2 dimensions what is a 3-dimensional problem, but I think you're following all the right steps, and I think I would love to live there myself. Your son is lucky.
Great, thank you. And Vice Chair McKay.
Thank you. I appreciate very much the respect for the architectural history and integrity of the home, as well as the passion and enthusiasm that both the applicant and the applicant's representative are bringing to the improvement of the property, the restoration of the property, retaining experts, the very best experts, and investing obviously a lot of time, money, and thought into this project. And I will also note that I am pleased that the neighbors seem to be amenable and approving of the project. And indeed, when I visited the project in preparation for this meeting, I ran into neighbors who said they were very amenable to the project and very excited about it. So I have I feel strongly and think that this project will be approved, but I just don't know that it can be approved tonight. A continuance does not delay this very long, considering how far you've come. The documentation should be refined, and the elements in the plan that are potentially going to be eliminated that have been identified tonight, they may or may not, should probably be removed from the plans. And the elements that we are definitely considering and being asked to approve and that are missing from the details of the plans and the documentation that have been submitted to us should be added. So the committee wants to feel comfortable and confident about what it's approving, and then the city and the staff can understand what the committee has approved. So those are my thoughts tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so I agree with my committee members, and it's a very, very small project that we're looking to approve this evening, but because of the nature of the alterations, it's a little difficult, and it's such a prominent portion of the facade being the entranceway. It is a complicated situation, and I think we've all agreed that you have spent a lot of time and resources hiring experts, and the historic preservation, the report, the resources report, and the landscape architect and the architect itself. And I've really focused on retaining and maintaining the architectural significance of the house from its original period. And that being said, it's something that we all really appreciate. I could support the change. I was under the impression it was a wood stained door, and I didn't really understand the concept of having a piece with the two side lights. And the side lights, to me, are not compatible in a style of house this way. I would like to see it designed just a little, maybe with some windows, but the side lights look a little odd. But if the rest of the committee, who seems to be somewhat in support of a continuance, wanting to see a little more detail, then perhaps we can revisit this and come back with color rendition of the front and probably the porch and cleaning up the plans, removing the portions that are not going to be there, making the corrections that have been brought out earlier. Then we can probably support a continuance. So I think we can discuss this between the committee to see, does anyone want to make any comments or
I mean, I
have any discussions? I'm sorry, just for the committee members, sorry.
So I think the other committee members also, like, I agree with what they said, like, this is on its way to being approved, but we have information here on things that don't exist anymore, and the things that we needed clarification and a better understanding of, we didn't have enough details about. So I think that if the applicant would, personally, I think that if the applicant would come back with some documented, the same as the verbal reassurance was given about the brick and how the brick was going to be matched, that be noted in the plans, that what the plan is for matching that aged brick. That there be a rendering of the change just in the front door and the so-called sidelights, which aren't sidelights, but the front door, that the rendering be better, that the color board and materials be noted, and that it be noted that the front door and side doors be casement windows be that it be noted that they will be in the exact same place that the current or the what used to be the bay window. That it be in the exact same place. All of that was verbally reassured to us, but it's not easy to see. It's not possible to understand that from the plans. Are there other things that need to be, is there anything else, or did I cover it, or what do the other committee members think?
Well,
What's missing?
I think you basically covered everything. No, I can only just kind of reiterate that what has been a little bit difficult for me to get a complete understanding of the project is just the lack of visual reference, like renderings, because I think just about everyone has discussed the front door, but we don't really have a reference what it's going to look like, a color rendering. And in terms of landscape, hardscape, I would also like to see that. I mean, we can't just see a plan. I understand it's evolving. There are other things to consider, but we also need to see a good rendering that have all the elements integrated into this project. So what does it look like? Maybe a couple, 3 different angles, so we can see from all sides what is the applicant's goal, their vision of this whole project, and tighten up all the plans as well. So yeah, I think a continuous, like committee member Tony Chao pointed out, we're all very close, and other members as well. But a continuance would not really delay this much, and we all like to see the project move along. And I think committee member McKay had pointed out that as well. Thank you.
Chair, if I may.
And go ahead, committee member Chang.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it sounds like most of the committee members want to see more detail, and I think the architect here with us tonight, it's capable of sharing all of that. I think it is important on the window treatment, the front door treatment, that a detail of the head jam sill details, sharing with the committee how is the mason going to finish it up become very, very important. Whether the detail match some of the old detail. The front door, you're going to have to find the right color, how it's going to be painted, do a rendering showing how that would look like at the end. And then the landscape drawing, for whatever your value engineering out, take those out. Whatever you definitely want to go in, should be shown on your revised landscape plan with the percentage of hardscape, so that everybody is fully aware of what you're proposing to complete the project. So I think that will make it a lot easier on the next round. I can go along with the rest of the committee members if they want to have better assurance that what they are approving. So I hope that will help you to understand what to expect next time around, so that we can just walk through it very quickly. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, thank you. And I was also, it's relating toward a continuance. I would like to see some detail on, I see the lighting drawn, but I would like to see maybe a little more detail with the lighting and the hardware for the door.
For the front door.
For the front door. And there was one thing that was said in that you had asked the question, and they said they're repurposing the door from the back to the front. I just want to make sure you understood that I don't mean the same door. I heard repurposing.
That's what I said, and they said yes.
So it's not, that is right, you understand. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure that we
And we'll
aren't using the
we'll
same
see it
door.
done, and they get to come back to explain again, so.
So, I think you've heard enough of our comments tonight to know, of how the committee is leaning and some of the things they would like to see, on if we move to continue it, so. And that.
I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
the public hearing has closed.
Yeah.
Let me clarify something, Madam Chair. Anticipating where the motion is going to go, just to ensure that there's clear direction. The community would like to see how the applicant will be matching the brick in the front. A detail rendering of the front door and the associated closet doors, a color board and materials board. To note that the location of the front door and windows or closets are going to be an exact location of where the former bay window was at. And we would also like to detail the lighting and hardware of the front door.
Also, committee member Chang mentioned like the front door, what color it would be and the detail of the head jamb and so.
Color of the front door, and I'm sorry, what was the second part?
The detail of the head jamb and so, correct?
Yes. head
You know,
jamb.
a true rendering of all the details of the door.
Correct.
I mean, just in color.
Removal of all the landscaping items that are no longer in consideration.
And maybe a detailed landscaping plan.
And that's where it gets a little confusing
Okay.
because DRC doesn't have overview of that. So you would just like a conceptual look as to what it will look like. Because you won't have the ability to approve it. And I'm saying this because I think obviously with everything that's going on and we understand what this applicant has gone through to get to this point. There are 2 meetings in October. I don't think they can make the first meeting based on what you're requesting. So the following meeting would be October 19th. And the reason I say you can't make the first meeting, which would be October 5th, we still will need, staff will need to review it, make sure that the components that you're requesting are there, write a staff report, albeit it won't be a short one, but still, we still would have to do that. So my guess is that the best option would be October 19th. And by continuing to a date certain, we don't have to notify again. That way it facilitates the meeting happening that day for the applicant. So if we got the direction correctly.
I believe that Chair Lakon also mentioned detail about the lighting.
Yes,
If you
I mentioned
Okay,
that.
sorry.
So the only discrepancy would be the landscaping. And again, I think the conceptual will be okay, but again, the understanding is that the DRC does not have overview of that.
My question then is, well, we've always looked at landscaping as part of the project because it helps us to visualize, but I certainly understand what you just explained. But what about, because, because there's work involved, there's new paths, steppers and all that involved. So I think it'll be still be very helpful to see the conceptual.
Sure.
I'm sure the applicant is not going to try to do something just completely not what they were even
Right, and I don't
thinking.
think that's their intent. I think they've
Right.
articulated that.
And
fact.
also there are trees involved
Yeah.
too, because currently there's one olive tree, on the premise, in the front yard.
Right.
So, that's all part of it. And
Sure.
if they're gonna plant another tree, then this is a good time to indicate that as well.
Sure.
And I just want to kind of get back to what the vice chair had just said too, that please ask the applicant to consider really give us a very detailed, precise color rendering, maybe from two angles,
Okay.
3/4 angles, whatnot.
So, yeah, so I would recommend if you do, set or continue the project to a date certain, that it would be the second meeting of October. If the applicant cannot make it, they can let staff know, and then we can ask for continuance at the October 19th meeting.
Thank you very much. That being said, do we have a motion?
I'm sorry, what are the dates of the?
October?
So if it would be
October.
if it would be the pleasure of DRC in their motion to continue to a date certain to October 19th, Wednesday, October 19th.
Sorry, Chair, are you ready for a motion?
Yes, oh, yes, I thought I said that. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to make a
Committee
motion.
Member Kang, go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'd like to make a motion to continue the RC, actually design review case number DR 22-36, 840 Winthrop Road to a date certain, which is October 19th, for the applicant to complete all the questions, concerns, and missing information mentioned during the meeting, so that we can have a better understanding when we approve the project with all the details indicated. That would be my motion.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Committee Member Chao. Roll call?
Chair Lakon,
Yes.
Vice Chair McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Batnish,
Yes.
Committee mem-
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
and Committee Member Rick Chao.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0 to continue.
Thank you. We will move to agenda item number 3. DRC case 22-39, 760 Granada Avenue. We have a staff report, please.
Yes, this staff report will be presented by our Assistant Planner, Eric G.
Design review case number DR 22-39 for 760 Granada Avenue. Project proposes to construct an approximately 95 square foot single-story addition along the side that faces the south elevation. The existing approximately 2,528 square foot residence. The proposed addition will expand the existing kitchen nook to create a larger kitchen, a laundry area, and an entry to the rear yard. The project site is currently located on a one-story single-family home with the detached 2-car garage on a 12,147 square foot lot in the R1 zone, area district 5. The proposed addition will reuse the existing windows for the addition and change the existing roof line of the kitchen nook to match the height of the existing kitchen with GAF Grand Sequoia composition roof shingles to match the existing roof, both of which are visible from the street. The subject property is not identified on the citywide historic resource survey report. For the neighborhood input letters, all 4 legal neighbors have approved the project. The project also meets all 4 findings, and staff recommends the approval of the project. Staff is available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff? No questions?
I was
Yeah.
just wondering about these Timberline HDZ RS plus shingles. I thought it was this. Is that I thought a different roof material was listed in the report as a matching Great American something. Is that what this? I'm confused. Are these 2 different types of composition shingles, or it's the same?
I am not sure. I believe the applicant can answer that question.
Yeah, I have 2 sample ones that are from the roofing supply, just to match his exactly, so whichever of the 2 match, so I have them there. But it's like the gap.
Oh.
the same color 3-tab comp shingle that he has on the house. So we're just matching the section that we're tearing off for the addition.
Okay, I think we should ask.
Are we asking staff things now? And we'll, okay, yeah, we'll come back to that.
Right, anyone else have any questions for staff? No. Can we have the applicant please present the project? And the applicant's representative? You may both approach.
Hello, my name is Sergio Santino. John is my neighbor. I'm also the contractor. And he's just going to do a little addition to the house. Minimal changes to the front, reuse the existing windows that go with the rest of the house. One's already in the front, the other one on the little turret, we're going to pop off and put it next to it on the front, as I showed on that one page. The roof line, all it does is it gets rid of the 2 jogs that are in there now with the turret, and the ridge extends out another 5-6 feet, and the hips go to the corners. So it's like as basic, easy, square as it can be. And the roof is just going to match the roof that's already there.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant?
Sorry.
Member Chang, go ahead.
Thank you. Were you able to match the roof? It's a composition shingle roof, right?
Yeah.
It's been there for, I don't know how long. Are you able to match that color?
Yeah. I have 2 pieces that look, both of them look good.
So you will be able to match?
Yes. I already went to the store and got 2 different samples that look very much exactly like his.
Okay. I guess that would be the only concern. If they.
That
do
was
not
our concern
match.
originally as well. So we checked that before.
Do you know the age of the existing roof?
About 30 years. About 30 years?
It's been there for 30 years?
So yeah, that's what the owner says. Yeah, it's been there.
Yeah,
about
I think it
years.
would be very difficult to find something nowadays to match something that's been there for.
No, it
30
matches it perfect.
Okay, well,
It does.
it will be on the record. I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that
no
we're not
problem.
going to end up with something that looks.
No, it looks
totally different.
perfect.
Okay,
It does.
thank you.
Does
Sure.
anyone else have any questions? No questions from. No question? All right. Anyone here for public comment? Anyone would like to speak on the project?
We don't see anybody who wishes to speak on Zoom.
Great, okay, I will close the public comment portion and move to committee member comments, discussion. Thank you. Committee member Chao.
Thank you, Chair. In the beginning, when I was looking at this project, the part that took me some brain power to understand was how the new roof is gonna work with the turret that's gonna be taken out. But I think after visiting the job site and also with the help with the architect and the owner, actually look at the house from all sides. I think I understand it. It makes sense to me. So with the roof matching, the material matching, not an issue. So I think I can support the project.
Great, thank you. Committee member Chang.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it's a very workable solution. It actually improved the roof line and it's a better end product than what we have now. So I can support it. I just want to make sure that the roof replacement would quote unquote look matching enough that we don't see a new patch or different color on the new addition. That would be one of the conditions of the approval. So I can support it.
Great, thank you. Committee member Batnish.
I can support this this evening. I would really, I'm also really concerned that this will match exactly the roof, which is really tricky, as committee member Chang mentioned, after 30 years, and also that any future, I mean, after 30 years, your roof is likely to be replaced soon, that the entire roof be replaced next time. I don't know if that's something that we can dictate or not, but that I don't want to see this little addition on the roof not replaced because it's new or because it's only 5 years old or whatever. Does that make sense? Is that something we can,
Sure.
that we can,
If I may, Chair,
Please.
to give some assurance, when somebody applies for a re-roofing permit, especially if you have composition shingle, we do require not only that the entire main house be re-roofed, not only a portion, but all accessory structures. And should they in the future want to re-roof their current home, they would have to abide by the pre-approved composition shingles on the list at the time.
right?
So
Okay.
that would be a requirement.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Okay, alternate member Tony Chao, is he? Is Tony there? Oh, yeah. Alternate member Turkson.
Just for the record, do you want to do it in the microphone? We appreciate it.
Yes, I don't have any further comment.
Okay, thank you. Vice Chair McKay.
Thank you. This is a modest project and I was ready to approve it as is, but I do appreciate the questioning from fellow committee member Cheng, and now hearing that the roof is 30 years old, let's make it a condition that the roofing of this new portion match exactly. So with that condition, I could approve it tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Can I ask you a question regarding the condition of matching exactly? How would that be enforced?
So through, because this is a design review project, planning is required to go out for rough planning and final planning. As part of staff's rough planning inspection, we inspect windows at that time, and we also inspect roofing materials. So it's at that time, if there is an issue in the color, we would bring it up to the applicant so they can fix it prior to final. And then that we wouldn't even pass rough planning until we get that confirmation. So that way, when we pass rough planning, at final planning, there aren't any big issues to correct. It's just cleaning up and making sure the exterior is acceptable.
And just to add to that, if there was staff would give the applicant a due process, if they really felt strongly that we that they disagree with us, we could always bring it back to you and you can consider it and you can either confirm that it does or it does not.
Okay. Okay.
Good to make that a
Thank you.
condition then.
So I think that the committee could approve the project this evening based on that condition. And it's a fairly modest project and it's compatible with the house, with the neighborhood. The only issue was the concern with the age of the existing roof matching a new product. So that being said, do we have a motion? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Okay, I'll give it a try again.
Committee member Chang.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and
I'd like to make a motion to approve design review case number DR 22-39, 760 Renata Avenue, with one additional condition that the new roofing tile to match the existing color, shape, size, and type of the existing roofing. Planning staff do not feel that it reached that goal, then the solution is to either have them bring back to this design review committee, or they can replace the entire roof with one similar material. That would be my motion.
I'll second that.
seconded by committee member Benij. Roll call, please.
Chair Lacon,
Yes,
Vice Chair McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Batinish,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
and Committee Member Rick Chao.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Welcome. And we will move to item number 4, approval of the minutes.
Yes, these were just the minutes from that last design review committee meeting.
Does anyone have any comments or any recommendations or changes? Make a motion to pass the minutes? Do we need a motion? Don't we?
Yes.
Anyone out? Did anyone have any comments? I'm sorry, I didn't look, I didn't look into the Zoom. I'm sorry. Does anyone have any comments or any changes? Okay, can I have a motion? Anyone?
I'll move to approve the design review, the minutes of the design review committee meeting of September 7, 2022 with no changes.
Thank you.
Seconded by Raymond Chang.
Okay. Chair Lacon,
Yes,
Vice Chair McKay,
Yes.
Committee Member Batinish,
Yes.
Committee Member Chang,
Yes.
and Committee Member Rick Chao.
Yes.
thank you. And do we have a report from the
The director.
Community Development Director?
Thank you, Chair.
Figueroa.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, congratulations to committee member Chao for his promotion. Well
Thank you.
deserved. And welcome our alternate committee member Coreyson. Welcome. As you can see, highly educated committee. This time around, I didn't have to ask them to be nice to our 2 new assistant planners, and they were super nice. I don't know what's going on. So I thank you for that. I'm sure they're going to come back. Really, staff is excited to have all of you here. Well, half of you here in person. Hopefully, Vice Chair McKay, committee members Chang and Chao will join us soon. Also want to just mention that council was generous enough to recognize Associate Planner Camila Martinez, Eric G, and Savag Sasonian, who's not here because he's in class right now. He's actually a graduate student at Cal Poly Pomona, so he's doing double duty tonight. They recognize them as new employees, and we're really excited to have both, as I mentioned last week, Eric and Savag, and we're still in the pursuit of a senior planner, but City Council did approve a contract amendment to our land use consultant, so they'll be helping us out with the projects that go before you and Planning Commission. But as you can see, Eric and Savag have immersed themselves really quickly, and so you'll be seeing more of them, and that'll be great for Camelia, who, by the way, will be going on vacation. She won't be here for the next meeting. Well deserved. She's done an outstanding job, not only being the only full-time planner at one point, but also training both Eric and Savag. So
Cheers to you.
I'm hoping she'll come back though. So let's be nice to her. Let's be nice to her. And then the final point that I wanted to bring up, we did receive an appeal application. This was for 1405 Circle Drive. This was the re-roof of that one prominent or that re-roof of the existing home in a prominent location along Circle Drive. So I'll inform the committee once we have established a date, and then I'll obviously, as I've done in the past, I'll inform you of the outcome as well. So that concludes my report for tonight. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone. I will adjourn the meeting. It is now 8:41. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.